Whenever you go knight to f6, most of your opponent just go knight to g5 and then you play d5, and after white takes, you go with knight to a5. But today, I will show you a tricky move, b5, and this move works 90% of the time. And as you can see, black have a higher win rate. So after b5, white have three options. Either to take this knight or to take this pawn, and the best move, which is to go back with the bishop. Let's look at them one by one. First, if d takes on c6, then you can capture his bishop and the game goes on. You can play queen to d6, develop your bishops, and castle on the king side, kick this knight out, and continue to play. Here, the most common move is bishop takes b5. Then you take this pawn with your queen, hitting the bishop and the g2 pawn. Now white can either take this knight or go back with the bishop to defend the g2 pawn. Let's look at them one by one. First, if bishop takes c6, then you can take back, and here most of the beginner players go knight to c3, but then you can take this g2 pawn and you are just winning. Therefore here you will just castle. Then you can play bishop b7, threatening a mate in 1. So f3, and then you can kick this knight out, knight moves back, and then develop your bishop, castle on the queen side, or even play g5 g4 to launch an attack on the king side. And as you can see, this is a very great position for the black pieces. All the white pieces are sitting on the back rank doing nothing. What if here he goes bishop to f1 to defend the g2 pawn? Then you play this tricky move bishop to c5. And here the most common move is knight to c3. You can go queen to d4 to threaten checkmate in 1, but most players will see that. But here there is a tricky line which starts with bishop takes f2, king f2 take, and then queen d4 check. If king e2, then there are various attacking ideas, therefore king e1, but then queen h4 check wins the knight with interest. White cannot castle, and you have great winning chances. Now let's see white's best reply, bishop to f1. Here, you can take this pawn, but the main line is knight to d4. And here the only good move is c3. For example, if white goes knight to c3, then you can go bishop g4. You have to block with the bishop. Bishop blocks, and then you take this with the knight. Knight takes, and then you go h6. Knight moves to safety, and then you can take this knight. And as you can see, white is having too many weaknesses. So this is a great position for you. Therefore here, you have to play c3. After that you play knight takes d5, which is a discovered attack on the knight. So pawn takes, you capture his knight. And here, white have two choices, d takes e5 or bishop takes b5. If d takes e5, then you can take this pawn with check, and after this queen trade, you can play a6. And white have a weak central isolated pawn, which can be a long-term advantage for you. What if here he goes bishop takes b5 check, then you can play king d8. And here white have two choices, either to take this pawn or play queen to f3 or castle, which is the best move. First, if d takes on e5, then you can just capture this g2 pawn and you are just winning. But here, white can go queen to f3, attacking your knight and also pinning your knight to the rook. But you can play e takes d4, which defends the knight. Bishop to c6 forks the rook and the knight. But this is a big blunder. Here, you can play this tricky move, knight to f4. sacrificing your rook. White takes, and then you go bishop to g4, attacking the queen. Queen e4, and then you play bishop d6, threatening rook to e8. Therefore, white goes bishop to c6, preventing rook to e8. But here you play f5. Queen takes d4, and then here you go rook to e8. White takes your rook, and then you play queen to e7 check. He cannot go back because it's a mate in a few moves. Therefore, he plays queen to e3. But then knight takes g2 is a royal fork, and you just win the queen. And after pawn takes, you can play queen to e4, and it is a mate in a few moves. So the best move for white is to castle here. And here you go with bishop b7. And here b3 is a common move, attacking your queen. But here you can play knight to f4, threatening mate in 1. So here have to play g3, but then knight to s3 is a stunning checkmate, and you just win in 12 moves. Well, this is not the end. Check out this left playlist for more amazing traps like these, and this right playlist for Grandmaster games. And if you don't wanna miss more videos like these, then don't forget to subscribe.